We'll go ahead and start. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. This is a very traditional Thanksgiving dessert. Since we don't have time for a full feast, I thought we'd do my favorite part, the dessert. So the pecan pie is what I'm going to be making with for you. So I just have some pre-made dough. The reason I asked if you're going to be making with me to have the pie crust ready is because it does take a few hours or even overnight to chill, because you do want your dough fairly cool when you roll it out, or else it'll become sticky and too thin when you roll it out, right? One thing I did a little differently in my crust compared to the recipe is I took half of the liquid and I substituted it with cold vodka. Ooh. Not because I want people that are eating it to get drunk or anything. I mean, we're cooking it, right? So it's a moot point. But anyhow, I did that because it makes a flakier crust. I've made a fair amount of pies in my day, and I got a reminder of, yeah, put some vodka in there instead of that cold ice water, or instead of half of it, and it makes that crust so much nicer. So that's just one trick that I did with mine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out and put it in the pie pan that I have ready. Now, it's best to have a ceramic or glass pie pan, and I do have my already pre-made one in a glass pie pan, but I didn't have two. So my other one is metal that I'll show you on, but either way, your pie will turn out terrifically. This is a pretty simple recipe that everyone loves. So it's something that your kids will love, to your grandma. You know, it's very traditional. So you're going to take the disc that you've had in the refrigerator for a couple hours or overnight. You're going to open it up. If you bought a homemade pie crust, or excuse me, a pre-made frozen pie crust, those work just as well too. That's just, you know, if you're making a feast, why spend all the time on the crust? Because it does take quite a bit of time. So I just have a little bit of flour, just all-purpose flour, I'm going to put on my clean surface here, and that just decreases any sticking. So let me turn this down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Can everyone kind of see that? Yeah. So just kind of making my surface here. I have a rolling pin ready. The other thing I have ready is my egg wash. So you see in the beginning of the recipe, it asks for 1 beaten egg with a tablespoon of milk, and that's to coat the outside rim of the pie with, just so it turns out real nice after being cooked. It gives it a better sheen, a better look, and a good taste as well. Okay, so I'll get a little bit of flour kind of on the outside, and maybe even take a little bit of flour and put it on my rolling pin here just to decrease stickiness. Pie crust isn't very sticky because it's mostly fat. As you saw, it was mostly shortening, which I found the Cookery brand in the cold section of the refrigerator at Massey's. And then I used in unsalted butter, I used the, what is it, that's Irish brand.
Okay, Kerrygold.
There you go, Kerrygold, the Irish brand. So use a pretty good butter if you can, because the taste is important, right? And so when you go ahead and begin to roll it, you want to roll it from the beginning, or excuse me, from the middle out, and then you'll kind of just gently turn it, and I'll flip it and turn it as well. Okay, so you want to take a look at your pie pan to see how big it is, and you want plenty of space for the crust to kind of come up over the edge, so you can make a nice pretty edge. You can pinch the edge off. If it starts cracking on the edge, just go ahead and mold it back together. It's really just butter and flour, right? A little bit of salt. Pie crusts are pretty simple. And you know, I didn't have a pastry knife. You know, a lot of people are intimidated because they're like, oh, I don't have all these tools that you need to do this correctly. I didn't have a pastry knife, and I didn't really want to buy one either, because I've always just made my pie crusts with 2 forks or 2 knives. And you just kind of interconnect them with the cubes of butter, the cold butter with the cold ice water, and flour. And you can go ahead and create those little pea-sized chunks as you're making it very easily with forks or knives. If you have a pastry cutter, then that just makes your life so much easier. But I don't do things the easy way usually. Been known to take the hard way around things, but I learn more. All right, so you want it fairly even if you can get it even. And we're just about there. So it doesn't take very long to roll that out. It was nice and cool, so it's easy to work with. Just want to try and have it as even as possible, thickness, but a homemade pie is beautiful because it's not perfect, right? Especially a homemade pie crust. All right, so that was pretty simple, right? Once you have the crust made. And so we're gonna take the pan and bring it pretty close. Just be gentle with it because now it's a little bit thin, and we just flip it right over. So center it as good as you can. And then you're just gonna take your hands and press it. You see here, just press it down into the pie pan. If anyone has questions at any time or just wants to chat, I'm happy to do that while we're doing this. And then you're gonna have some extra on the edge. Go ahead and fold it under the back way, right? To make it really even across the top. Some parts you won't need to fold as much as others. Again, it won't be perfect, but it'll be pretty and tasty. All right. And this is, we're just doing a single one. Some pies call for double pie crusts, one for the top or a lattice pie top for the top, but not this one. And so you can just leave it straight if you'd like, but I kind of like to do a little pinch. So I'll pinch, can you see how I'm doing this? I kind of just pinched pieces here, and it makes a really pretty kind of scalloped edge to the pie. And that's always fun to have something pretty to show your guests if you're feeding some guests. I'm going to be bringing these pies to some teachers' party tomorrow. We're having a very small Thanksgiving gathering. And the children are already saying we want some too. So maybe I'll leave one at home and bring one. Lily's over here. Maybe we better have one. They want a pie. Before kids, I made pies all the time, but my kids haven't seen me do it very much. And so there you go. You know, pretty quick and easy, and that's a homemade pie crust. And you can see the speckling in there, and so that's just the shortening and the butter specks, and that's very normal. So it doesn't have to be perfectly blended in there because that will all just melt throughout and make a really nice texture overall. So the next thing I'm gonna do is take that, here, I'll turn this up now a little bit. So the egg, the beaten egg with 1 tablespoon of milk, we're just gonna put a little bit of it right around the rim, and then we're gonna put the whole thing in the fridge while we make the inside of the pie, the filling of the pie, right? So we're just generously coating the outside here. You're not gonna use this whole egg. You're just going to use a very small portion of it. So it doesn't matter how big the egg is or anything like that. But this just gives it a nice texture and makes it look pretty after baking. All right. And if you get some on your pie plate, doesn't bother it, or if any drips down, that's fine. Any questions so far?
I'm just wondering if you should prick the bottom of it with a fork, as sometimes I see in recipes.
You know what you're doing. Perfect. So I have my fork right here. So it's perfect. So if you just prick the bottom a few times, it decreases the pie from kind of bubbling up on the bottom, right, as it's baking. So thank you for that suggestion. We have that done right there. So I'm going to ask Lily to put this in the refrigerator because we're just going to fridge this for the remaining time. Let it stay cold, and that way it'll come out real nice. I put these things aside. Just gonna wipe off some of my mess that I made here, just a quick way. As we know, baking is not clean. Well, it's clean, it's just messy, right? Okay. So again, a little washing my hands. So the next process is making the filling. This filling is pretty easy. It only has a few ingredients, so it's hard to mess up, really, a pecan pie. So I'm going to turn my oven on first to 350. Preheat my oven, and when you are looking at your oven, look at the racks before it gets hot. You probably want to bring your racks down a little bit so the top of your pie doesn't get burnt so much, and then you can also cover it with tin foil halfway through cooking in order to make sure those edges don't get burnt too much, right? I'm going to grab a drink of water as I'm talking. My throat is getting a little itchy. Okay, so the next I'll show you some of the ingredients that I have prepared. So I have my pecans here, 2.5 cups of pecans. I've got 3 eggs. I have ½ a cup of brown sugar. I've noticed in Trinidad that we don't find that brown packing sugar like we do in the US. I'm not so sure if anyone knows where to source that. All I'm finding is kind of the light brown sugar that doesn't pack as well. Is that?
There's a sugar from Guyana. I just bought a pack today, and it's browner than the others.
It's more sticky as well, so it packs in a little better.
Okay, I just went to my cupboard to have a look. It's called the Demerara Gold. Yeah, I don't know if you tried that one. Massy, but sometimes they're out of stock.
It's one of those things, right? That everyone's looking for. Well, anyhow, the light brown sugar will work just fine. So the other thing I have here is this is my 1 cup of Caro syrup. It calls for dark Caro syrup, but I've gone ahead and used the light traditional Caro syrup, which will turn out just fine. We have butter here. This is our 1/4 cup of butter, and it's melted, but it's about room temperature, maybe even a little cooler than room temperature. I added my salt and cinnamon, ½ a teaspoon of each here, and then some vanilla extract. I think we have 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract there. So pretty simple ingredients, not too many ingredients there. The first thing that we'll do is we'll get those pecans ready, okay? So they come usually shelled in halves as they come out of the shell that way. What I do is I chop it. If you have a nice food processor, you can do it the easy way. But like I said, I like to do things the hard way. So here we go, and I'm going to chop them up. But what I do before I chop them up is I take a nice big handful and I set it aside because I don't want those chopped. Because I'm thinking ahead of how I'm going to make this pie look. And I want to arrange them on the top of my pie so it looks really pretty. So I'm going to set those aside so I have a few just to arrange nicely on the top. And then the rest of them, I'm just going to coarsely chop. We don't need any, we don't need it to be super fine or even or anything like that. We just need coarsely chopped pecans. And having some of them whole or half, that's fine, because what the liquid will do and the sugar will really make them nice and soft once they're baked within the pie. They're not going to be nearly as crunchy. would be more melts in your mouth kind of pecans.
So they're not parched before. You just use them the way they are without being parched.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't need to parch them. A pecan is a fairly soft nut, and so you don't really need to soak it for any reason before.
No, not soak. To parch it, put it in a dry pot. I find that with some nuts, it brings out the flavor when you put it into a dry pot to parch it.
You know, that very well could be a good tool to use. You know, the recipes that I've made pecan pies with before haven't called for that, but you know, that might be something to try. That might make it even.
I have never made that type of pie before. I'm just asking a question, but.
So I know when I work with, you know, cashews or like a macadamia nut, something like that, I'll go ahead and or almonds. Sometimes when you bake with those, you want to soak them a little more, some of the harder nuts. But
no, not to soak them, but to parch them. Just put them into a hot pot on in a hot dry pot.
Yeah,
on a sort of low flame and keep stirring it.
So you like kind of toast them almost?
Right, parch. Well, I say parch, but maybe that is not the right term.
Well, maybe it's I think we just all use different terms. I don't think it's not the right term. It's probably just a different term, huh? So you say parch, but you kind of toast it, yeah?
Yes. I just wanted that would bring out the flavor from the nut.
Interesting. So Sapna,
like
what
when
are you doing there?
When I'm doing a carrot cake, if I put say walnuts in them, I will parch the cut them small and then parch them before putting it in the carrot cake.
Oh, that sounds great.
Pop them into the oven as well for a short period of time. I've done that before. Just pop it in like a little roasty kind of heat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that sounds easier actually.
So this is what they look like. So they're fairly coarse, right? And I'm just going to set this aside, and we'll put that in with the pie crust in just a little bit. Then I'll go ahead and work on my filling. So again, there isn't really a rhyme or reason to this filling. You just need to add all the ingredients together. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and just beat my eggs together. I just have them washed in this dish here. Okay, and I'll go ahead and just crack them in here to make sure that they're good, right? Before putting them in. I'll whip those up just a little bit to get those started. Okay, so 3 eggs, right? The half a cup of brown sugar. This is our caro syrup, and that stuff's pretty sticky, so I'm definitely going to use a tool to get all that out, to make sure that we get that whole cup of syrup in there. We want a sweet pie, right?
Yeah, just to comment on the carrot syrup. I've seen carrot syrup exactly one place, which is peppercorns. I haven't seen it elsewhere.
I got, so we talked about this a little bit first, and I got mine at Fresh.
Okay.
And I was able to find the American caro syrup.
Okay, all right, I didn't think of that location, but there's also a website called Bigger Bolder Baking with Gemma. She's from Ireland, and she shows you how to make that syrup from scratch, which is just sugar, water, and lime. Just in case you feel bold and you want to try it.
Yeah, like I said, I like to take the hard way, so maybe I would do that next time.
It's called Bigger Bolder Baking.
Right, if you can't find caro syrup, you can always make some.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, she does that kind of thing. She teaches you how to make all sorts of things. cream cheese and half and all sorts of things.
Making cream cheese. That's
Yeah, she teaches you that too. A lot of different things. So
this is our butter.
The carrots
ready?
Yeah.
And some vanilla. 1.5 teaspoons, and then salt and cinnamon, and we'll whisk this all together just to kind of whisk it up really nice. So this pie is this easy. It's really not very hard, and it turns out beautifully. I can't wait to show you the finished product because I was really happy with it.
I really like that, you know, because it seems so easy. It's not like creaming and blending, and it just seems so easy. I have to try it.
Look, I have nothing automatic, right? I'm not using a blender or a food processor. I'm just using my hands. It's pretty simple. That's kind of how I like to bake. Spent so many years never having a food processor. When I finally had one, I didn't want to use it because I thought, well, I just chop my vegetables. Well, I'll just chop that up. I got it. Or a garlic press. Like I said, I take the hard way out. I like to chop my garlic. All right, so now I'm gonna go get that pie that's chilling in the refrigerator, and I'm gonna arrange everything, and we'll pop it in the oven. So I'll show you how I arrange the top of the pie so it looks real good. Okay, so here's that same crust that we just put together. And what I'll do is I'll take all of the chopped pecans and go ahead and just lie them in that pie real nice. And this will rise some, so you will see a lot more crust now than you'll see later because there are 3 eggs in it. And so that will kind of fluff things up, right? So we'll do that there. I'm just gonna show you what I'm doing here, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and put my liquid right over the top. There we go. This dish is a little shallower than I'd hoped, so I might not use all the liquid. We'll see, I might drizzle some over the top so I left a little left in here, just a little bit, so I can drizzle some over the top after I make my pretty pie. So then I'll take all of these whole pecans and I'll go ahead and just arrange them real nice around the edge. So when it comes out, I got a pretty looking pie. And you can make any design you want, right? If I was really creative, I might think of making a turkey or I don't know, something cool like that. But my creativity isn't that bold today. Has anyone ever made a pecan pie before? It's just the first time that anyone's ever made one or seen one.
Everybody's muted, so you have to unmute.
I have never made one before. I have eaten it, but I've never made it before.
And you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. I just thought it was, oh, this thing may be difficult. I didn't even try, I didn't even look at a recipe.
It's so easy. It's really an easy pie. I'm doing some extra little bonuses here, but you don't have to.
I've never made one, so this is really, I'm inspired. Oh.
Yeah, it's nice to make things that are easy, but are beautiful and taste good, and everyone's like, wow, this is great. Little do they know, it wasn't that hard. All right, I'm gonna go get a few more whole pecans to put on here.
Yeah.
You see something and you think, oh my gosh, that's so hard to make. It tastes so yummy, but I could never make that. But it's very easy.
Yeah.
Tony, I was going to tell you, with something like pecan pie, I think the baking time is too long and the nuts are exposed. So if you were to toast them before, they would burn. Like if you're making them muffins or cookies or so, the baking time is much less, and they're inside the batter, but they would definitely burn, especially on the top there if you were to toast them before. But toasting them before does bring out a lovely flavor, but not for something like this.
Oh, good thinking.
They're gonna get toasted when they go in anyway.
Yes, they will get toasted.
To the oven like that.
Right, and we'll go ahead and make sure we cover this for at least half or more of the baking time. That way they don't get burnt, right? Because that's pretty important to try not to burn them. I want some, I've got lots of smaller pieces here, some bigger pieces here. We'll find a nice big one for right in the middle. There you go. And so you can kind of make something really pretty like that, and that will come out real nice. And I can go ahead and drizzle a little bit more of my pie filling over that. Okay. And that'll turn out real nice.
Looks so good.
So my oven's preheated, and I'll just pop this in. I'm gonna set my timer to 20 minutes to start with. Then I'll cover it and put it in for another 30. And then check and see how it is. The one that I made yesterday, I did put it in for maybe 53 minutes total, right? So I did 20 minutes, I did 30 minutes covered, and then I checked it out, and I did 3 more minutes uncovered to kind of just brown the top a little bit more. But I'll show you the finished product after I pop this in and set my timer. All right. Okay, so 50 minutes has passed. We've covered it with tin foil, and our pie's ready. And you have a party to go to, and you have a beautiful pie. So you can't even see it. There we go. Wow. So what do you think?
Beautiful.
Wow.
It looks great. So this is the finished product, and this is a little bigger pie dish, and so the crust comes out just a little more. I think the one I just made will be a little more level to the edge of the pan. But who doesn't love crust? So why not? You can add a really nice layer of whipped cream or ice cream, which will taste really nice with this. So there you go, pretty easy.
Do you?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, something everyone can do, absolutely. Really nice. Especially, you know, if you just want to buy your crust, then it's really easy.
Yeah, and it's fast, except for the baking time.
The baking time is a fair amount compared to many other baked goods, but it's worth it. And that's the easy part. That's when you get to clean your kitchen. Right? All right.
Do you cover the whole pie, Katie?
Sorry?
Do you cover the whole pie with foil?
I do. You can just cover the edge if you want, but since it's a nut pie, I just cover the whole thing real lightly. You don't need to tuck in the edges real tight or anything. Just a light cover, just so things don't burn or fry up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so pretty easy. I'm excited to share my pies with some friends tomorrow.
So do you serve it with whipped cream at the side or on top?
I like to make homemade whipped cream with heavy whipping cream.
Yeah.
So you just take a blender, and I'll use a little bit of sugar in it. If you want it more vanilla tasting, you can add, you know, a teaspoon of vanilla in it as well. But you just whip it up until it's hard. I prefer the homemade heavy whipping cream whipped up compared to something store-bought, just because it's less sugar and less additives, and I think it just makes it taste so fresh. And you don't need that much sugar because the pie has so much sugar in it.
Yes, yes.
You know, you might need, you know, an 1/8 of a cup of sugar for, you know, the quart of heavy whipping cream. Yeah, so that's how I like to do it. I told my daughter, actually, she wants to go over to Massey's to get a couple things. I said, yeah, don't let me forget the whipping cream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions or?
No, I think for me, it was very simple and very straightforward. So it was definitely an easy follow along. So
yeah,
we'll be trying it for sure.
And I do have a question. Can you use that same crust to make like pumpkin pie, apple pie, any pie?
This crust is versatile. I've used this crust to make a pot pie, like a savory, right? Pot pie. That's what I like to make for Thanksgiving. I'm a vegetarian, so I like to make a nice hearty vegetable pot pie for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Suzette, do you normally make pecan pie, do you, or just pumpkin pie?
No, my friends make the pecan pie. I make the pumpkin and the apple pie, Jackie. And you know, we always try to make pies. Jackie's a master pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Oh, she is. We should all come together and have like a pie bake-off.
That's a good idea.
I love a berry pie.
I like the idea of the vodka in the crust.
I do too.
Like that.
Try it. I promise you will not get tipsy.
No,
not people living here in Trinidad with how much they drink.
Yeah. Because being in the tropics, it's harder to make pastry. You know?
Because it's so hot.
It's so hot.
Oh, it's just harder to keep it chilled.
Yeah.
Well, it's to keep everything really cold.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I came from the high mountains about 8,000 feet, and up there, it was hard to have anything rise. So any sort of cakes or cupcakes or cookies that needed to rise, you had to change the ingredients by adding a little bit more flour and water in order to get it to turn out. And even at that, the cookies were always flat, and it's really difficult to bake at high elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, the tropics are easy. At least you don't have to change the recipe. You just have to watch your temperatures, right?
Yeah.
So not so hard. But good to see everyone. I look forward to a time when we can meet.
Yes.
Eventually.
I think it's great.
Hopefully soon.
I have a question, but it's not about baking, but it's been on my mind since we got the first message that you are moving here, Katie.
Please.
You and your husband. Have you, by any chance, been in Brunei or Miri or in that area?
No.
Ever?
Nope. Mm-mm.
Not at all. My God, I feel like I've seen you somewhere. And your husband.
I have a doppelganger.
Day one, and I've been, one of those things where you need to get off your chest.
Yeah, maybe we knew each other in a past life.
I hope so. Okay, so at least I know.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
Someone told me the other day that they knew my eyes. Because I had my mask on, right? And he said, do I know you? I said, I don't think so. He said, I know your eyes. Where was I? I was out and about in the community. So I didn't know him.
You have to watch out now.
Yeah. It's interesting how you feel you've met people from around the world. Yeah. And sometimes you have.
Very much. And I was like 99% sure you would say yes.
No,
I'm surprised.
I haven't. Southeast Asia, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and Thailand, a bunch, but not Brunei.
But not lived there or.
No, not lived there.
Oh, well.
No.
Yep. So, I need to find who this person is now who looks like you.
I'd be interested to know.
Well, thank you.
Is it Swapna?
It is, yes.
Good. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, and thank you for
this. Who's this guy popping in?
This is Rayan.
Hi, Rayan.
Fellow cook.
Hello.
Oh.
Sous chef. Yes.
Sous chef. Very nice. It's always good to have someone alongside. My daughter's the one who bakes the most in the family.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yeah. She has plans to make some Thanksgiving cookies tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you have
lots of sweets in the house. I think it's not good for me, but it's like it.
Did anybody try Lucy's cookies after last week?
They looked
We had Lucy from England teach us how to bake some cookies last week.
This is going to be my baking weekend. I'm going to do the pecan pie tomorrow and the cookies. I have it all sorted. I've got my scale, I've got my flour, I've got my caster sugar, I've got my pistachio. So I'm just going to do a baking marathon.
Lovely.
Oh, very nice.
Well,
you have to send out some pictures.
Sorry?
You'll have to send out some pictures.
Yes, I will. Actually, I'm going to do a Zoom baking with my two daughters and my daughter-in-law on Sunday morning. So we said we're going to do it every Sunday till Christmas because they can't come, of course, you know. So everybody picks a recipe. So
we're getting so creative how we connect these days, huh?
Yes.
For sure. And after sitting through conferences this morning, I got through 12 teachers for my two sons in an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
So, oh, wow. You packed them in. Good for you.
It was fantastic. By 8:40, I was done.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's impressive. I was in from 8:30 until 11.
Okay, I started.
With my kids.
Yeah,
pretty much straight through. I had small breaks.
And no, I didn't take small breaks. I was getting sort of a little anxious coming to the end and thought that I should have scheduled a little further apart, but it
How
was
old are your boys?
Over 17 and 13.
Okay, and your 13-year-old is in 7th or 8th?
He's in 8th.
8th.
And I have another boy in grade 12. Two sons.
Okay, great.
Catherine, I think you and I had the same idea because I went from the same 7:30 to 8:40.
Right, it was perfect.
Really well. Excellent. Amazing. I don't know how we can go back to doing them in person, but and sitting down and lining up and waiting but
no, I think this is something to take forward.
Yeah.
You know, after
you could sit in your own space with your cup of coffee and have a nice conversation, and they're quick, right?
It was perfect, and everybody kept their time, and it really worked very, very well.
And the teachers feel the same way. That's the same feedback that I got from the teachers. Yeah. Last year we got that from the middle school. So basically, I think it's probably the way we're going to stick with.